Hey, my name is Sam and I like to build stuff, and this is my latest project. But that's not where it started.
Check.
What's up guys, how's it going? My name is Sam and I just wanted to thank you for being here today. So I just wanted to give you a little background on me before we go forward with this project. I'm constantly working on stuff, all sorts of different types of projects. It's not just car related, whether it's remodeling my house, doing stuff in the yard, building sound systems, or building art projects that we've taken out to Burning Man. I'm constantly trying to challenge myself by doing new things. And I think it's really valuable to learn all types of different skill sets. So at the moment, the project that I'm working on is a 2016 Toyota Tacoma. So I bought this thing about 5 months ago from a salvage auction and it was totally wrecked. It didn't run, it didn't drive. I really didn't know a whole lot about it when I bought it. I tried to do as much research as I could beforehand, trying to make sure that I found a vehicle that was decent, a good platform to start with. I decided that I was gonna sell my daily driver, which was a Duramax diesel, which I totally loved, and take on something that was totally outrageous. I wanted to build an extremely capable off-road truck, but I didn't want to start with a brand new truck because I knew I was going to be taking all the suspension components off and swapping with something else. A bunch of the body components were coming off also, so I decided to roll the dice and buy something that was wrecked already. So in this series, I'm going to focus on the Tacoma, and you get to see how I took a totally destroyed truck and turned it into an extremely capable off-road machine. So make sure that you subscribe to the channel so that you can watch the whole process. And you can also watch all the other projects I'm going to be doing in the future. So let's get into it. So what I did to research the trucks was go on Copart. Basically just type in the make and the model. I was looking for the 3rd gen body style, so which was 2016 and up. And you can go in and see there's a ton of trucks. Wanted a double cab. So now you're just getting the trucks that were double cab. And I also wanted a truck that was a TRD off-road. So I basically just dug through here, tried to figure out what was going to be a good option for me. Ideally, I wanted something that had front end damage. The trucks that ended up getting hit in the rear really hard just totally mangled the frame. There's a known problem with these, and so I tried to avoid those. I started with the front end damage, filters down to just those trucks. I finally found the truck. After doing a bunch of research, I went ahead and bought one. So luckily I was able to get a truck that was within driving distance of me, which was in Reno, Nevada, about 10 hours away. So rented a trailer, and the next day we headed out to go pick it up. So after nearly 2 days of driving, we were finally able to get the truck back home and we were able to get it into the driveway, which was a task in itself because the front suspension was broken in half. It wouldn't roll. So that was one of the big things that I wanted to get taken care of first. So once it was in the driveway, the idea was to start taking it all apart and then go and source some new suspension or something so that I could actually have it roll around. So what I did was find some used suspension stuff off of our local Craigslist, and that way the truck could roll around, make it a little bit easier to maneuver. But the idea was take it all apart, see what the damage was like, and just move from there. Okay, so after I got all that stuff taken off, I had to figure out what was actually damaged in the crash. Most of the damage was concentrated towards the front of the truck. The radiator support was bent in a little bit. The fender aprons were also bent where the fenders mount. So all the stuff that was damaged on the front that I couldn't use anymore was the hood. There was no grill, no bumper. The radiator was cracked and leaking, so I had to get rid of that also. The battery mount was mangled, and so the battery was just flopping around in there. But I was able to reuse the fenders because I didn't really care what they looked like for this first phase of the project. The goal now was to get this thing back straight so all the body gaps would line up, but it was really hard to figure out what was bent and how far out of whack it was. But I did a little bit of research, and I was able to find some factory measurements from Toyota that showed the exact specifications of what the engine bay looks like. Then I found out about a tool that body shops use called a tram gauge. Basically, you set a fixed distance with it and you can measure across all these different points, but they were really expensive if you were to go and buy one. So I actually went out and made my own. So this is the tool that I made. It's not super pretty, but it's definitely functional, and it only cost me about 10 bucks. All it consists of is a 1-inch piece of aluminum square bar that is 8 feet long. Then I got a piece of square tube that has an inner diameter that's a little bit bigger than the aluminum, so it can slide on that. Drill a hole through the steel and weld a nut to it so I have threads. And you can actually unscrew this and it'll slide around like that. And then you can set that distance to whatever you want. And then the bottom piece is a 3/8 inch piece of square tube also with a nut welded on it. And then a piece of 3/8 inch threaded bar. And then I just ground down the tip so that I could put it exactly where I want it and it wouldn't slide around. So you're basically able to loosen this guy up, slide that around, set the distance between this peg and this peg, and then I went back to the factory measurements and lined it up in the engine bay. So this part of the project I spent a lot of time on because if I didn't do it right, the body gaps would be all weird and it would just look funny. I've seen totaled vehicles that haven't been done well and the body gaps are all screwed up and it just looks cheap and bad. So I spent a lot of time with the tram gauge here. So the first thing I needed was actually a fixed point. So I started off by using a point that was closest to the firewall because I knew that there was a very small chance of that being out of alignment. So from there, I just worked my way around the engine bay from point to point to point and started to pull things back into alignment. So what a body shop would do is they'd strap it down to a frame table, but I didn't have one of those. So the idea with that is you strap it down so the chassis can't move, and then you hook it up to different points. So I obviously am doing it by myself in my driveway. I don't even have a garage that it can fit in. Can't fit the truck in this garage. It's too small. So what I did is I hooked up to a tree and then I put a bolt in the side of my house and I used that as my pulling points. And what I used is this. It's just a simple come along winch. Nothing fancy. This was like 30 bucks. I'll put a link to this in the description so you can check one out. But it's a super basic tool. It's just a spool of wire here. So I'd hook this end up to the house and I'd hook this end up to the truck using a chain, or I made a couple little mounts and I basically just pull on it. And I would pull that measurement a little bit farther than I would need to ensure that when I let off the tension, it would spring back to where I hope it would be. So I just repeated this process over and over and over again, always taking measurements with the tram gauge, making sure that I'm actually pulling from the right spot, which took a little bit of time to figure out, as does everything that you're doing for the first time. But I got it near perfect. I mean, within less than a 1/16 of an inch, and the engine bay looked great. All right, so I think that's where we're gonna stop the video for today. And in the next video, what we're gonna be doing is test fitting the hood and the fenders and then making a bunch of minor adjustments to make sure everything lines up just right. So if you haven't done it already, please consider subscribing to the channel. And also check out the truck on Instagram at taco_taco so you can see all the recent stuff that's going on with it. And we'll catch you in the next one.